Good evening, and welcome to the Outpost Frequencies, brought to you by the lastmovieoutpost.com, where you can get all of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. I did say that I was on my Todd, which apparently is a British expression because Yoda's never heard of it and thought I was making it up. But I'm not on my Todd because Yoda is here with me. Yoda? Yep, Yoda. Earth calling Yoda.
Yes.
Hey, buddy, how's it going? You look fresh and bright.
I worked all day yesterday on a Saturday, and I want to die.
How are you doing?
Working on a Saturday. It should be illegal.
Should
and a Sunday.
But it's not.
And for the rest of the week, really. But, no, yes. So you've had a very busy week, but you've managed to join me. So thanks for coming along.
Well, you looked a little. There was a little subtext in your Slack messages, like I'm going to do it all alone, guys. But if anybody wants to join me, you can.
Please don't.
Nobody wants to join me. Well, that's all right. I'll do okay on my own.
I was fine to do it. I was fine to do it on my own. I was all right.
I can hear the plaintive wail in your voice, in your text.
It's like you said last week. I love the sound of my own voice, so I was quite happy to sit here and converse with myself because So it's an open bar tonight. There's no real theme or anything. We can talk about some of the bits and pieces coming out. We've only got 3 watchers, and I think 2 of them are me, and probably the other one's you.
It's not me.
So, I mean, let's talk about bits and pieces that have come out this week. Like, for example, have you seen the new She-Hulk?
God damn it! Yeah, it was. I mean, I guess. I just am sad about what, I watched the original Incredible Hulk.
Right.
I'm kind of going through the earlier versions of the MCU. I don't know why. I just kind of
hang on. Is that the Eric Bana one or the Edward Norton one?
Edward Norton one. And I look at what Bruce Banner as a character was going through in that, and how he was being, like he gets to a college campus and like the entire army comes roaring in with tanks and giant sound machines and all this kind of stuff. And
they're to kill him, basically.
They're there to kill. Well, they want to take him hostage, but they want to turn him into.
But
and just put him up against the wall, just keep draining the blood out of him, and then he's on the run in Brazil, and then you get to Avengers, and he's in this really shitty part of the world where he's trying to help people, but not Hulk out, and then Shield comes after him, and then Loki puts him through all kinds of stuff, right? And then over the course of time, he's just, it culminated in Age of Ultron, where he was like, he and Nat having this conversation where they can't be together. And he can't, get excited. They make a mention of that in the very first Hulk. He can't even have sex because, he'll out. And now you get to...
There is a great little GIF about that, which just search for it if you haven't seen it.
But now you get to She-Hulk, and he's just this joke on a spaceship heading to Sakaar, doing air horns, and the Hulk thing is apparently no big deal. It's just a thing that you might have. It's like, boy, MC has really fallen, hasn't it?
Well, he has been through all the stuff, like you say, with Age of Ultron. He lost Natalie, he lost his friends, he, had the Hulk takeover and everything else. But, I mean, to be fair, he's never been catcalled. So,
true.
We don't really know how difficult life is.
Sir. I stand corrected. I honestly, I mean, I guess you could say he's kind of, as a character, he's kind of earned this, to have a happy life. He's certainly been through enough. But it also, from a viewer standpoint, it makes the MCU, it feels like the MCU has been turned into a joke, and not just because of the political nonsense, which is a big part of it, of course. But I mean, all this other stuff, it's like they don't even take their universe seriously anymore. Well, Robert Downey got out when the getting was good. I hope he doesn't come back.
Yeah, that's right. He chose the best course, died.
Yeah. Him and Chris Evans. They're out.
Well, I was going to say, you say that though, but I mean, Iron Man is about to be emasculated by a black young girl who becomes.
Yeah, I know the wildly successful Ironheart series from 2019.
But just the problem has been is Disney in emasculating the men. it happened to Luke. Luke Skywalker, because he got killed off and he was replaced with Rey, and he was just turned into a pathetic, weak man who couldn't be bothered to fight for anything or any cause or anything else. And then it happened to Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan was kind of the Princess Leia show, and how he was dominated by a 10-year-old young girl. Hawkeye has been replaced with a young female now. Like I say, Iron Man's going to be doing the same. Captain America was replaced with Captain Britain, in that Doctor Strange multiverse matter. And so the emasculation of all the men seems to be what Phase 4 has been all about.
Yes, I agree. I think we've all pointed that out. What I'm saying is that the unfortunate side effect of all this is that it's turned the MCU into an unserious property. And you say, oh, what? It was a serious property with all these superheroes and nonsense going on. A guy with, gets a bunch of jewelry and he snaps. Yeah, but they treated it. They treated, the characters of that world treated their situation seriously.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes, the MCU was always a little bit jokey, a little bit lighter, but it wasn't
a little bit lighthearted, yeah.
But it wasn't. But the situations were not treated in an unserious manner. And you, as a joke, but I mean, I think it's a really good indication. It's like I have been told by men, I've been mansplained and catcalled. It's like that's not a serious person you would assume that Jennifer Walter was either blipped or lived through the blip. 5 years. We saw an Endgame
and lost people, and
it was not a nice world that we came to it 5 years later, right? I mean, it was kind of it was rough, and if you had lived through that, talking about mansplaining and catcalls, I mean, how am I supposed to take you seriously? Even forget about today's. Our real world conflicts, just within the confines of the story. It's like you don't even care about your own story. You don't have any reverence for your own stories anymore. So you don't care about what's happened. You don't care. You're just unserious people have taken over these properties and they have unserious problems and they don't understand how to create any tension or any drama or any stakes. So now
or any character development or kind of anything really.
The only reason have any feelings now towards the Phase 4 of the MCU is what it's doing to the stuff that I did care about. But in its own world, in its own logic, I don't care about the Eternals. I don't care about Moon Knight. I don't care about. I cared a little bit about Hawkeye. Falcon the Winter Soldier kind of made me not care about it. WandaVision.
I didn't even finish Hawkeye.
Yeah, I mean, Shang-Chi. I can't even. All of it. It's just like you have taken away whatever passion I had for these things, the things that made me passionate about it, and turned it into complete indifference, which is the worst thing you can have, right? Yeah. And I know we sit here for the last 20 minutes talking about it, so clearly we're indifferent. But
but the problem is like you say, it's when you're vested in something. I mean, let's come back to what Disney have done with Star Wars. Again, they just keep pumping out these things, and somebody said that the more you add to something, the less special it becomes. Yeah. If somebody makes if Lamborghini. Yeah, if Lamborghini makes a car and they only make 50 in the world, it's like that is very special. But then if they churn out another 100 a couple of years later, that's just completely devalued the original ones. And none of the stuff has been like particularly any good. Like I say, Mando, season 2 has been a highlight. But I mean, Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, it's just content.
Why did you care about Mando though? I mean, you talk about, and I grant you, it's hard not to have that emotional rush when Luke came on. But really, you know what really got to me in Mando season 2? Is when he took off his helmet for Baby Yoda. It was the drama and the stakes and the characters that they created within its own story, not relying on the past.
No, I mean, like I say, yeah, obviously, we had that moment with Luke, but yeah, you cared about the relationship that they had. It was a father and son relationship, whether they were adopted or, in that adopted situation.
Which they completely ruined in Boba Fett by just bringing him back 3 weeks later.
And yeah, I know. I mean, there's so much we could talk about because, I know Kathleen Kennedy is.
They couldn't even wait for their own season 3. For Christ's sake, they had to do it in another series, and they think, well, everybody's going to watch the IP. Well, are they? Sooner or later, because there's look, our generation ain't getting any younger. Okay,
so eventually we will all die out, and the new generation will take over.
Right, but my point is
the TikTokers and things.
My point is that these kids that there's less and less kids growing up with that moment. That property, that thing that hit them when they were kids. They're getting leftovers from previous generations. I just don't have, like, my mom, her favorite movie in the entire world is Bambi. The with the deer, right?
Yeah.
Fair play to her. But she also saw it when she was a kid, and it was for the most part, a brand new property. Everybody was talking about it. It was in the zeitgeist, right? When we were kids, we saw Star Wars, we saw Back to the Future. We were really lucky to see what we did. That's what I call the Spielberg era, right?
Oh yeah,
from 75 to 93. I think I call that the Spielberg era, and it is just one new IP after another of things that really affected us.
Iconic greatness.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Now my daughter has the Harry Potters, maybe the Lord of the Rings. Although she was pretty young, she was born in 2002. And she didn't really take to the Lord of the Rings. If anything, that was more of a Gen X property holdover because we had been reading that story when we were kids, right? It was a big deal back in the 70s, D&D out and all that.
I remember somebody saying that there are two types of people before the movie came out. They said there's two types of people when it comes to Lord of the Rings: people who have enjoyed the book and people who have yet to enjoy the book.
Yeah. But now, I look more and more, all they're doing is recycling badly all these old properties. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, can't wait for that destruction. I'm trying to decide whether I'm even going to try to watch it. I'm really on the fence. If I do, it'll be for this, and I'll wait till all the episodes are out, and then we'll just have a hate talk about it and then move on.
It is horrible to say because I don't want to go into it immediately thinking I'm going to hate it. And I'm trying to keep an open mind towards it. But just today I saw a quote from Lenny Henry, who's a black comedian over in the UK. He's been known for many years, but back in the 80s, he was great. He used to do stand-up comedy and stuff and sketches. And then he got famous for doing things like Comic Relief over here, which is where they host, celebrity things and raise money for charity. And he's so Lenny Henry now, but he was saying about he's very proud that these treatments of older works are now including, people of color and everything else. And it's kind of, why are you proud of this? Because at the end of the day, it was written by a white guy, in a white society, where there weren't any minorities. And I kept thinking, if there was a story about, a classic example of this is 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves, how you've got this Japanese story, but they put this American guy in there to make it more appealing. And it's kind of, that's really bad. It's kind of the same thing.
It's an example
just
of
putting people in for it.
It's the example of the unseriousness. The idea is that we were racist back in the day. We don't want now, but they haven't adjusted their thinking at all to the idea of merit and that sort of thing. So their thinking is basically the same racist thinking. I don't want this person in my movie because he's black. 1950. 2022, I want this person in my movie because he's black.
Because he's black, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, you're just as racist as before, so here's your hood, okay? Don't pretend that you're not just as racist because you're only judging the person's worth as a person by his skin color. And you just decided that the new trend is, black is the new white. That's what it is.
Or it's the other way around. Like, for example, coming back to She-Hulk, you're only getting this job because you're a female and you're a female writer.
Well, and she's also green. I don't know if you knew that. There's not a lot of
was
green
she?
actresses out there, so that was
No.
I can kind of.
I was talking about the writer. I was talking about the writer, not the actor.
I know.
Because I mean, again, she's openly admitted that she had no idea how to write tense courtroom drama, and you're thinking, this is called She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Why didn't you get the guy who did Law and Order for 25 years?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but obviously you can't do that now because, like you say, the people in whatever kind of ism it is, they can't show any ism, and so they have to employ somebody who is literally judged by either the skin tone or the sex that they are, but not by the accomplishments that they've done or whether they're any good for the job.
They're the same cavemen that we had back then. The same racist cavemen have institutional power. They just decide to hate their own skin color instead of somebody else's. And unfortunately, they're not going to give up their power. So in their own way, they're still treating blacks badly. Still treating people of color badly. It's like, why? We're supposed to be all just freaking people. I thought that was the lesson.
Yeah.
But apparently you can't figure it out yet still. So we end up with She-Hulk.
In other things that have been new, have you been watching the new House of Dragons?
So I listened.
I've watched the first episode. I haven't seen the second one yet.
I haven't watched it yet, and I was gonna wait. The problem I have with Game of Thrones, I mean, besides that, shit the bed, is that it is
right at the end.
It is so dense, and it's kind of like Better Call Saul. I mean, there's so much going on, and if I wait a week in between and have all kinds of stuff fall out of my brain in between because I'm getting older and it's full.
I've slept since then. What happened last week?
Yeah, no kidding. I would prefer to binge a show like that.
No, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
But my Ben Shapiro seemed to really like it. And although he tends not to be as hard on things as say Nerdrotic, who is just basically, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Nerdrotic says, but I get tired of the buzzwords. And today in the MCU, as we see in the MCU, I was like, okay, I get it. You're not making us. You're not convincing anybody. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. You don't need to. Yeah. Like I said, the first episode I thought was quite good.
He said it was good, and I'm like going, okay, well, if they do it right, maybe I'll give it a shot.
I feel sorry for Matt Smith. Because Matt Smith, I think, is a fantastic actor, but did you see him in Morbius? Well, that's the thing. His manager needs to be fired and needs to be getting in better roles. Because I mean, in Morbius, he was kind of chewing the scenery and just having fun. Yeah, and it was kind of like I think was the only person who. I mean, it's funny because Jared Leto obviously very takes things very very seriously when he does a role and stuff, whereas Matt Smith is sort of thinking, getting paid to be here. I'm fine.
What a fucking superhero vampire movie. Give me my check. Let me have some fun. Yeah.
But I mean, he was in, what was it as well? Terminator. Was it Genesis or one of the Terminator movies?
Yeah,
and again,
I guess he was. Was he
the
Was he the John Connor character? Or
can't remember.
I can't remember.
Cannot remember.
Honestly, I didn't know much about him until Morbius, and then I was kind of like, "Oh yeah, him. He's been in this and that." And then I found out he was Doctor Who. And
his series of Doctor Who was brilliant. I loved his little thing was he would kind of put something on like a fez, and he what's his name? Karen Gilling, I think it was sort of saying, "Are you wearing a fez?" He's going, "Yeah, I wear fez now. Fezes are cool." And he would just sort of have a bow tie on. He's going, "Yeah, I wear bow ties now. Bow ties are cool." And like I say, his Doctor Who was brilliant, and it was a really, really good series. And like I say, I think he is an amazing actor. It is a shame to just see. Well, I say that in this new House of Dragons. I was going to say Rings of Power. The new House of Dragons, he is really good because he's playing quite a good bad guy that so far you can really get your teeth into. Which is always a good sign.
I heard he was the best thing in it. Is what I heard as far as acting and interesting character. You want to know more about what's going to happen with him.
Exactly. I mean, they've always said. I've said this a million times before, but they've always said with James Bond, James Bond is only as good as the bad guy. If you've got a good bad guy you can get your teeth into, it's fantastic. Whereas, some of them are quite instantly forgettable because it's just a sort of generic bad guy.
Yeah, Shapiro said, and I hadn't really thought of this before, but I had to kind of shake my head and go, yeah, that's right. the worst thing about Game of Thrones was the White Walker, because it's really just it's a zombie apocalypse coming, and then they kill them and it's over. And there was nothing interesting about the White Walkers because they were just undead things coming. They were a storm. They were a hurricane coming.
Yeah.
No character to a hurricane. And all the interesting stuff was all the intrigue and the gamesmanship between the Lannisters and Targaryens and, you know, Starks and everything that was going on. You know, all the infighting and all the weirdness. The
infighting and the inbreeding.
And the inbreeding, yeah. And, you know, and he's right. That stuff was the most interesting thing. Who's going to end up? I mean, nobody cared how they were going to kill the White Walkers, quite honestly.
Yeah, because they were still all busy fighting.
The only reason people care is because they figured out the absolute stupidest way to do it. But the who was going to end up on the Iron Throne, that's what everybody cared about. And again, they shit the bed because they figured out the absolute last person that you would have wanted on the throne to do it. The retard the blind retard with the wheelchair or whatever. But I'm horrible.
Again, it's one of those series that was so good. There were such epic moments in it. And then just towards the end, it just really it just pulled the rug from out of you, and it just left you feeling.
The other thing, George, with this series, I'm like, I've been hurt before.
Yeah, you know, that's why I've always been dubious. I know I did the reviews of like Obi-Wan and stuff, and I was quite harsh on it, but I say I've been fooled before, and
it's like this time it's the husband coming back. I swear I'll never hit you again.
Yeah.
I believe
one more time. It's such a shame with it, and like I say, because I mean Andor's coming out soon as well, and again I'm just completely nonplussed by it.
I'm completely uninterested in new Star Wars content, which really bugs me because Star Wars was just Star Wars, and even after the prequels came out, but that was it. It was not movies I watched; it was places I went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know, yeah. I mean, I still remember, I'm just going to harp on about the whole memory thing here, but I mean, I still remember myself and a mate managed to get tickets to the premiere of Revenge of the Sith in London. And they sold tickets, which were, they were going to show all 6 movies in one day. And I still remember they showed 4, 5, and 6, and then 7, 7, 8, 9, and then 1, 2, and then 3 was the premiere. And we sat there before 3 started, and we were just sort of sat there going, this is the last time we're going to watch a new Star Wars movie.
Do you wish?
You know, and no, but back then we were so optimistic. But, you know, we sat there and we just, you know, there was a few of us in this row and everything else, and we had some guys behind us who had flown in from America to see it, you know, and everything else. And we, you know, and all of us were just sort of really, oh man, you know, this is the last time we're going to do this. And then I do remember then when 7 came out, Force Awakens came out, me and my mate were there, and, you know, and I sort of came out of it thinking it was great. And I think we watched it twice in one day. Actually, me and my mate, we had lunch and went to see it again. But now, and I just like to say, with the Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi is the first Star Wars film I've never owned. I've even got copies of Caravan and Courage and Battle of Endor on VHS. But the Last Jedi, just didn't want to buy it. And like you say, all of a sudden, it just took everything away from you.
You know what's so maddening about Last Jedi? I thought about this the other day, and I'm glad you reminded me. I wanted to bring this. I thought it was a fairly brilliant point. You know how we always complain about how they have an interesting idea, but the execution is bad?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Last Jedi is the reverse of that. Like, it's executed really well, but they're just bad ideas. They're terrible ideas.
It's not a badly directed movie.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a prime example. Made me think of this. So in Last Jedi, they come up with the idea of communicating through the.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah. But introducing sort of suddenly new powers out of nowhere.
So how did he execute? He executed it by never showing them in the same place, but just doing a very simple shot reverse shot to show them talking to each other. And then when they got done, and one of them anyway, they're like she was in the rain, and he has a few droplets on her, right? And that's just a little thing to show the audience that no, this wasn't a dream or it wasn't a hallucination or anything. This really happened. It's a power greater than their own. That's it. That's all they showed. Okay. Whereas, and I think Rian Johnson is a good filmmaker. I like Knives Out. I like Looper. I think he's a good filmmaker. I think his script was shit as far as the ideas, but the execution of the script was excellent. And that's what makes you, that's what fools you about Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to J.J. Abrams, who is as subtle as a bowling ball in the face. He shows them fighting in the same room in two different rooms. Like they're like, she's in the market and he's in his spaceship. And like at one point they knock over coffee beans, and then you see coffee beans get knocked over on the floor of the spaceship.
And then he picks up her necklace, doesn't he? And then immediately knows where they are.
But then the coffee beans, do they disappear? Or do they come back? Is there some stormtrooper having to sweep up going, God damn, these Skype calls. You know, I mean, it's all
just... getting these from? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like you can pull stuff across light years through the Force. You can pull, across the room, across light years, it all starts falling apart because it was executed so poorly, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing that I was thinking about. It's like Rian Johnson's a good filmmaker who had, at least for Star Wars, really bad ideas. And then
I'm still always going to do this. I'm never going to stop doing this, and I will be proved one day. I still say it was Kathleen Kennedy, because I still say that it was her who, but as the producer, she's the one who oversaw things. I still get the impression that with the Last Jedi,
I think Rian Johnson was on board for all of it. I think he's
that's what I'm saying. No, that's the point I was going to make. Is with the Last Jedi, J.J. Abrams came back in, and apparently the Last Jedi is not the movie, not the Last Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker. It's not the movie that he wanted to make. And he never said it publicly, but he kind of always implied that he was held back by Disney.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
No, but what I mean is I think Rian Johnson was kind of like, yeah, fine, I'll write this script. And Kathleen Kennedy was like, yeah, this is what we want to do. We want to kill off Luke and do everything else and whatnot. And he just, was like, yeah, let's change expectations, everything else. I still say it was Kathleen Kennedy, though, that is the one that is responsible.
Filmmaking isn't a single point of failure, right? I mean, it's all a collaborative effort. And, obviously, if Rian Johnson didn't like it, I mean, he could have done what Colin Trevorrow did and just left. Could have done what the two guys who were on Solo. Could have left.
Oh, Phil. Yeah, that's right.
Phil Lord.
And Chris, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name now, but yeah, like it's funny because I mean, somebody said about Trevorrow the other day, and sort of like how his idea didn't obviously fit with Disney's idea, and so he walked away, or creative differences or whatever it might be. But then he kind of went on to do Jurassic World, and I watched Jurassic World and sort of think, don't know who's dodged the bullet there, because Trevorrow did by not making Star Wars, but then he made Jurassic World, and if he had made Star Wars, would they have been as bad as those?
If they had ended it with the first Jurassic World, I'd been like, that was kind of a nice little trip back. That would have been fine. But then they kept on with. I don't think he did Fallen Kingdom.
Oh no, he didn't. You're right. He
did do Dominion.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying some different things, quite frankly, to his credit. But, it's like, know your audience. Nobody wants to come in and see giant locusts. Nobody wants to see that. So, I mean, I get it. I think he was trying to, I mean, I'm not trying to say that Colin Trevorrow is a fantastic filmmaker. One of his films is hot garbage. I know that. And it was just roundly booed for it was about some kid who was really smart. He was trying to solve a mystery or something.
Hang on, I'll try and find it, because I know one of his movies was absolutely fantastic, which was Safety Not a Guarantee, when he's sort of back as an independent guy. I mean, that's a brilliant movie. It's really,
but
really
I get the feeling
the Book of Henry.
Book of Henry, yeah, they said that was hot garbage, and I haven't seen it either. But I'm just saying, Trevorrow may be a one-hit wonder, and he managed to catch a tiger by the tail and rode it to Jurassic Park, and now he's made his money, and now whatever.
I do wonder whether because a lot of new filmmakers, when you look at their history, they've kind of done nothing at all, and they kind of come out of nowhere, and you do think to yourselves, why are these people making?
Because you can't do that with Steven Spielberg.
That's exactly what the point I was going to say, that, with Chloe Zhao, that she made this not independent film, but she made this sort of, thing. What was it called? Homelander. No, I can't think what it was called now, but I mean, the one with, oh, bloody hell, brain farts. She made a film and it won Oscars, and it was a good film and it was well made.
Yeah, it was the one. It was the one where with the living in a van or something.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Homeland.
Anyway, and then she went on to the MCU, and it was just a bad decision to put her in charge of a movie like that, because again, her direction is good, but the story and everything else just didn't make any kind of sense. And like you say, you didn't really care about any of the characters or anything about it like that.
Well, we have too many directors who don't understand storytelling. They can direct competently, but they can't tell a story worth of shit.
With it, though, I do, like you just said, I think there's also quite a lot of interference from the studios.
Yeah.
That the studios kind of, no, we need to get this message across, and it's kind of, really, do we? And then I can just see, like I say, with Trevorrow, I can imagine that happening, that he wanted to tell a good Star Wars story, but then Disney kept saying, no, we don't really want to do that. No, we really need to kill Luke off, and he's going, what? And hence the creative differences and stuff. And
yeah, then Abrams was like, I'll just pick up this flaming tire fire and see what I could do with it,
See if I can sprinkle glitter on this turd and just make it look mildly presentable.
I don't blame Abrams completely for Rise of Skywalker. I think there were some choices that weren't necessary, just because Last Jedi, like, you have to do light speed skipping. I'm pretty sure you don't.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's other things in there that are all him. But I guess my point is that we got all of these properties that are just getting, squeezed to death. They're just sucked out husks of what they once were. There's no new properties coming out. You and I are getting older. The kids coming up, they don't have the emotional connection to these properties. So we say they're going to keep making money. It's like, not for much longer. The well is going to empty.
I remember somebody saying about with the new Star Wars that they were sort of saying, this is my kids' Star Wars, and I was thinking, that's so sad, that they are being raised on the 7, 8, and 9 and thinking this is what Star Wars is, and it's like, you poor kids, we were treated to this thing that changed the world. It changed people's lives, and with these new movies, they're just sort of,
at least we had just 30 years of enjoyment. People who had the MCU, they barely got a year before it got turned to shit in Phase 4.
Yeah. And like I mean, there's that meme of what's his name, James Franco in Buster, the Ballad of Buster Suggins, I think it was, where he's getting hung, and it's kind of first time, and it's kind of with whatever Hollywood seems to be messing with at the moment. It's just for Star Wars fans. Yeah, been there, done that. MCU fans going through the same. Lord of the Rings fans are just about to have it. And
talk to us Star Trek fans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've all been going through this sort of mild deconstruction of just these things that we loved and taken away from us. It's horrible.
I tell you, I got some high hopes for Warner Discoveries. Zaslav has no time for your bullshit, and he is just taking a scythe like the angel of death to these properties that have any wokeness in them. And one of the stories I think we had this week on the Outpost.com, give it a shot, is...
Don't give it a shot. Go there and like it.
Yeah, go over there.
Don't give them the choice.
Read. But the destruction of the Cape Crusader show, and that brought back Bruce Timm. But it also had a couple of others that were very concerning. I'm trying to remember who the showrunners would be, but even Bruce Timm, he was talking about more diversity and what. So I'm pretty sure they would have made him bi or gay comics. And he's done. The Zaslav guy, he's done with it all. It's like, we're not going to be sitting here just losing money so you could put out your stupid religious message.
It's about time somebody actually sat up and said this. Again, we've had articles now because Obi-Wan is supposed to be buying a new novel. Batman's supposed to be bi now, and it is kind of like nobody cares.
Superman, Jonathan Kent, his son, is full on gay, getting married.
And again, it's kind of, this isn't part of the story or anything about them or anything. It's just, I don't care what sexuality anybody is if they're just the main protagonist in the movie, just doing what they do in the movie. But it's got to be injected now.
I kind of wonder how many of the non-pride gays, and when I say that, I mean the gays that aren't into all the political and intersectionality stuff. They just want to, I'm gay, lives. But the rest of the time I'm just trying to pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
And how many of them look at this and they go, yeah, they made Superman gay. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They just want to be left alone. It's like with I can't remember who said it now. I think it was Matt Walsh. But he was saying about how most trans people just want to get on with their lives. They don't want to be. They don't want to go on marches and be on television and everything else. They just want to get on with their lives. But these activists are sort of like, "Hey, look, you're trans. You go forward and speak." And it's like, I don't want to do that. I just want to get on with my life. I just want to live.
Most of these activists aren't really trans.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's all about getting.
There's a bandwagon about trans.
It's a bandwagon. It's about social pressure and acceptance. It's about gaining power and using people. I mean, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that. I mean, it's destroying all our properties. So
let's talk about something else.
Please.
I did watch. I'm so sorry. We've got our lowest amount of viewers ever.
They miss Sean.
Yeah, Sean and Eggie's not here. Eggie is probably very, very drunk at the moment because it's his birthday tomorrow and it's a bank holiday tomorrow, so he's still probably very, very drunk. And Sean, I imagine, is in some bushes somewhere with a pair of binoculars watching a lady. He said he's squirrel hunting.
That's what the kids are calling it.
Yeah, that's right. Back in my day, it was called stalking.
Back in my day, it was called a felony.
I did watch this week though Samaritan with Sly Stallone.
I saw that come out. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I thought I'd give it a shot later.
It was pretty good.
Was it?
I was actually quite pleasantly surprised. I was very much, I'll put it on. There's nothing else on. I'll put it on and see what it's like. Like I say, I was pleasantly surprised. The story kind of reminded me, and this is very, very tentative, but it kind of reminded me of Last Action Hero, which I actually quite like and rate as a movie. I think it's quite a good movie with Arnie. But yeah, it's basically set in I want to call it Grunge City, but it's not called Grunge City. It's in a city somewhere or another. But the whole of the opening credits tells the story of these two superheroes who were twins, and their parents were killed at a very early age, and one of them went good and one of them went evil. And it turns out the Samaritan was the good guy and the Nemesis was the bad guy, and the Nemesis got killed and the Samaritan just disappeared. And but it seems that the
Nemesis isn't really dead, is he?
Well, no. He was, but somebody found, like, he made I don't want to say like a magical hammer, but he made a hammer which have destroyed the Samaritan. But somebody discovers this and then wants to take up the mantle of the Nemesis. And it was kind of good the way it was played out, because the city was in dire straits and people are, the taxes are high and they can't afford their mortgages and all this kind of stuff. But the Nemesis,
like San Francisco.
I was going to say most of America and Britain. But
London, but with less knife crimes.
Yeah, very much. Well, not so much. It's not so many gunfights. But people actually looked up to Nemesis because he kind of was trying to bring down the governments and everything else. And so it was actually not like a massively complex story, but it was a really well done story. And at the end of it, I thought, I quite enjoyed that. That was actually quite good. I'd given it a good 3.5, possibly 4 out of 5 stars.
I'll give it a shot. I saw it and I thought, I don't know if I don't know if you're feeling this way. It's like, oh, another pseudo superhero story. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there is that, obviously, and like I say, yeah, no, I do completely understand what you're saying with that. But to me, I thought it was quite good. Sly was good. The kid in it, whoever he was, I don't remember the actor's name, was annoying at times. But overall, it was quite a well done story, and like I say, held my attention most of the way through. So
I feel like the superhero genre is just hitting the tail end of it.
Yeah,
kind of like the westerns, like in the 50s, late 40s through the 60s. Western, it was Western.
You haven't done a Western? Oh my goodness!
What's that?
You haven't done a Western? Oh my goodness, really? Oh my goodness me, man! That's where the Oscars lie these days.
Yeah. And then it just fell off a cliff. Gone in the 70s. Then of course Star Wars came in. Sci-fi. Then that kind of went away, and
I did get a chance to go and see Nope, which I have put a review up on the channel if you have a look around. It does have spoilers. Jordan Peele is one of those directors at the moment which is either a huge hit or a massive miss. And this one I thought was quite a massive miss. Get Out is brilliant. It's really, really well done. Brilliant film. Us was fantastic up until the end, and I said this in my review. I still don't understand how else there are people living underground who copy everything that we do. So how do you run a marathon, a 26-mile marathon underground? If somebody's going in for an operation, does one of the other Us people cut you open?
Well,
and all this?
Answer me this: isn't the whole premise of Us is that the little girl was swapped at the beginning?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I remember. Yeah.
Why wasn't the girl up above? Why wasn't she just doing the things that the girl down below was doing? Why did she take control? Or is that how it worked?
No, this is exactly the point, though. And like I say, people kept saying, "Oh, this is absolutely brilliant." I'm going, no, the ending was. And what was annoying was I was really invested in the characters, and so when this ending happened, I was really quite angry because it's like, oh, this is so disappointing. And
I'm seeing Jordan Peele is taking the M. Night Shyamalan career trajectory.
Yeah, where he starts off well, and then he gets a bit too big for his boots, I suppose.
Except he only had the one movie. He's not doing so well since.
Yeah.
Well, I did like Keanu.
Keanu?
Yeah, it's the one he and Peele did about the cat.
Oh no, I've not seen that one.
Key and Peele. You know Key and Peele, right?
I'm vaguely not as big as.
They have some great shorts out there on YouTube. I highly recommend.
Okay.
And they did a movie about. They found a cat, and the cat he named it Keanu. And they get into all sorts of crazy hijinks. I can't even remember what the drug dealers.
I will look
out
for it.
I don't know, but it was just a fun little. It felt like a throwback kind of comedy that you would have found in the 80s, or the 90s.
I've got a good one to come back to on that. But with Nope, I was quite vested in the characters, and it was quite well done. Daniel Kaluuya, I think his name is Kaluuya, is really good. He's a fantastic actor, and the rest of the cast are really good. I actually really like Michael Wincott in it, who played
Guy Gisborne.
Yeah, and I mean he was really kind of over the top as this. He wasn't the bad guy because I expected him to be the bad guy, but he was really over the top with it. He was brilliant. But just the whole premise of Nope. Can I talk about spoilers?
I'm not going to see it. I'm going to take a hint from the title and go, nope.
No. Basically, because again I mentioned this in the review. In Signs, the thing that killed the aliens was water, and you do kind of think to yourself, what stupid aliens would then invade Earth, which is 70% covered in water?
I never bought that. It's like we have other resources. And
wait.
Yeah, I mean, just saying that everybody's saying, "Oh, you came to us, we're covered in water." It's like, yeah, we have lots of land too, and plenty of resources, and we don't know what.
It kind of makes sense why they attack kind of Middle America.
Middle America,
they're miles away from.
Yeah, the other one that they said, "Oh, it came 50 miles, it got locked in a pantry." It's like, I have all kinds of crazy technology nowadays. I can fall in a cave, a pretty primitive cave, and not be able to get out. I mean, some of the things that they call logic problems. It's just they're not really logic problems. I've never
had an issue with the one being trapped in the basement.
Yeah, people do, and I'm like going, if you don't have because you have a lot of technology. I mean, if he didn't bring his gun with him or something, I don't know. He just looks like they wander around naked.
Well, speaking of technology in Nope, the alien spacecraft apparently has been hiding in this place in California for many, many years, basically in a cloud. It seems many years. It's been there for a long time.
The Amazon cat.
But what it doesn't, what can't handle, it can handle interstellar travel, from a different universe or planet or whatever, but it can't handle bunting. and bunting, it seems,
flags that are connected to each other on a rope.
Yeah, but over here we call it bunting. So, like I say, you have a rope and you have these little triangle flags, and it's used to kind of hold down like a blimp or that kind of thing. And these aliens, first of all, get one kind of stuck in their engines, and it kind of plays them up. But then they are literally defeated by bunting at the end of the film.
How does it defeat them? Oh, does it gum up the engines or something?
Yeah. Well, again, you can handle interstellar travel and light speed travel and everything else, but when it comes to like having, something jamming up the engines, we're screwed now.
Well, you could take down an F-16 with a Canadian Goose. I mean, you get it in the right.
Oh yeah, engine. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, the Concorde went down from a bird, or not a Concorde, but the guy that landed it in the Hudson.
Yeah.
It was a bird strike. I mean, it's just a turkey got the engine.
But basically, the woman in it, because obviously it's not Daniel Kaluuya who does it, obviously, because you can't have that these days. But I mean, she releases a blimp shaped like a cowboy, like a hot air balloon type thing, and it goes into the ship's engines, blows it up. I was really sort of, really? That's what killed it? And it was just, to me, it was just very, again, disappointing ending, because I was quite invested in the characters.
That wouldn't bother me so much. I mean, sometimes simple things can gum up the works of complex things. I don't think that that's necessary. Like I said, I mean, a bird can get in an engine and the whole plane goes down, things like that. I have more of a problem when they try to use more complex things to take things down that aren't...
Like for example, installing a virus.
Yep.
From your Mac computer.
You read my mind. Spaceship. With his serial port.
Yeah, that's right.
And not only, I mean,
USB? USB.
If you know anything about coding, like he could have put something in there that maybe just blew data into the and gummed up the works. That I might have been able to swallow, maybe, but just like he had a skull and crossbones, and he was able to figure out the drivers to the sound card and the video.
I'm just gonna download a quick Skull and Crossbones in a second, just to upload that.
While we're at it, I'm going to have it go to multiple systems and in sync at the same time, come up on all their screens. We're gonna assume that they're all connected together. We don't know. It's 1996. I guess it's how that shit works, right? But we're still using fucking modems. No, I was just like, that kind of stuff bothers me. A wad of garbage in an engine, that bothers me less. But people kind of have expectations in a movie that they think they're seeing things. It's like, oh, that wouldn't happen. It's like, yeah, it would. It happens every day. Goddamn, what are you talking about?
To me, I would have liked a better understanding, a sort of just a better ending, really. And like I say, for me, it was just disappointing. And there was also, I don't know if you've seen the meme of the monkey's paw and the kid bumping fists. If you've seen, I think it was in the trailer. Basically, it's about a monkey and a kid, and the monkey was on a TV show, and one day it goes completely apeshit and kills everyone, apart from the kid. I still don't have any understanding of what relevance that had to the main story. It was. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the copy.
You might give that section another watch. Maybe there's something there, or just go to Wikipedia. But I had
again,
that
it's kind of
like I just don't pay attention for a second, and then I go, why was that? And it's like, well, if you've been paying attention, Yoda,
Yeah. But no, but that kind of again annoys me, that it's like, say, if you miss a single frame or something, because apparently when this monkey went nuts, a shoe was stood up on its toe by itself, and again, I'm looking at it and going, we keep cutting to that. I don't know why.
It could be just Jordan Peele's up his own ass.
That's kind of the impression I got. I know we can't speak ill of Jordan Peele because of his skin color, but no, that's kind of what I thought. But yeah, like I say, not a massive fan of that. Going a bit more old school. Actually, I've got some new. I have seen some new movies, but going a bit more old school. I've watched for the first time ever, Once Bitten, Jim Carrey.
I saw that, but it's been so long. I don't recall that much. I know he
Basically,
kind of turns into a vampire, but then
she's a vampire. And she has to drink the blood of a virgin before Halloween or whatever it is, and he's obviously a virgin trying to lose his virginity. And it was one of those films that would never in a million years get made today. But at the same time, it was one of those films that was so bad it was entertaining, but not in, you're laughing at it, not with it, most of the time.
It just struck me as one of those mid-late 80s throwaway comedy movies that had a concept that was fine. It's like nobody remembers it, other than the fact it's like, oh, that was with Jim Carrey before he was big, That's why
I was going to say it was kind of funny because that was made in, I'm just looking Jim Carrey up, that was made in 85, but he didn't really get big till Ace Ventura 94, even though he did a few bits and pieces in between it, like Earth Girls Are Easy and the Deadpool and that kind of thing. Like I say, there was quite a lot of stuff that he did. Oh, he also did the Sex and Violence Family Hour.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how much of a career he had before Ace Ventura. I remember seeing him in this one show called Doing Time on Maple Drive. It was like a made-for-TV movie where he was gay and the brother had other problems, and it was just like, it was just one of those movies that they just keep coming out with that, like living in a middle class home in a nice, suburb or something was like hell on earth all the time for everybody. That's what you can kind of see the writing on the walls, what Hollywood thinks of, just normal people. We're all just we're all just seething balls of neuroses and mental problems and everything, and they made it come true. Thanks, Hollywood. We've seen TikTok.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like I say, it was quite amusing. And then I also came across I haven't got it written down yet because I haven't finished it. The Nick Cage vampire one. Love it. No, not Love at First Bite.
Kiss, Vampire's Kiss or something.
Kiss, that's it. Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss.
Which is very strange because Nick Cage all the way through talks kind of like this all the way through, and it's very strange. It was that was I haven't finished it yet, but like I say, that was quite a culture shock. Another 80s classic, or say classic again, one I'd never heard of, but I did watch it because it had Catherine Mary Stewart in it. It was The World Gone Wild.
Never seen it.
No. Bruce Dern, Michael Pierre, and Adam Ant. I don't know if you guys had Adam Ant over there. He was a British pop star.
Yeah, we had Adam Ant.
Oh, right. Okay. But yeah, this film was in a nuclear ravaged wasteland in Earth of 2087. Water is as precious as life itself, and it was basically the Three Amigos, Bugs Life, Seven Samurai kind of story. Yeah. And it was terrible. The only good thing about it was Catherine Mary Stewart looked fabulous in it. And like I say, I've still got quite the hots for her from back in the day. Now, moving on to more newer stuff, I finally got around to watching Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, what'd you think?
Annoyingly blown away. It was really good. It was. I say annoyingly because
damn it, I love this.
I didn't expect much from it. Like I said, I've never been a fan of the first one. I've seen the first one once, I think maybe twice in my entire life. Never really caught on with the first one, but this one was just great. It was just good. The only complaint I had was towards the end. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. Towards the end, I thought it got a bit sort of. Oh, come on. Just there was
you're talking about when they got into the F-14 and then
they managed to steal it and get away, and
I agree, but the thing is, by that point I was like, I'm in. I don't give a fuck.
It's all been utterly ridiculous so far. I'm going to carry on.
I'm great. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm having fun. I mean, he was wanting to entertain you, no doubt. And do you see what I mean when I said I felt like Terminator 2, as in It's basically the same movie, but you've amped it up where you need to amp it up, and the effects are so much better, and it's a little bit more coherent. You've sanded away all the rough edges. You've given it just a little bit more stakes, but otherwise you've basically made the same movie. And it's like 2.0 version of Top Gun. Like if they had the technology and everything that they could have done it, they would have done this.
The only thing that not annoyed me, but there was bits and pieces, like they kept saying they've got like the Russians or whoever it was have got like 5th generation fighters, and they never kind of fully explained what that was, and that they kept referring to it like
it's better than 4th generation.
Yeah, I got that much, but that's as far as my expertise.
F-14s, I think, are 2nd generation or something like that. I think they're pretty. I mean, F-14s to me. I mean, when you're growing up, those are the hot shit planes. I mean, they can put their wings up, they can pull their wings back. They look cool as hell, and I was never into it. And so when they kept saying, "Oh, they've got these 5th generation fighters," I just kept saying, they said that they're more technically advanced, but it was kind of, can somebody just explain how? And then that just gives me a bit more caring of what's going on. It's mostly it's like your car now, right? Like if you go to a car from the 1980s, there's no computers in it, right?
Yeah.
You got a radio that has a little thing that goes back and forth. And
do you remember choke on a car? And you had to pull out the choke when you start,
or a clutch. But nowadays, I mean, your car is just amped out, right? With electronic stuff, and not just the stuff you see, but like the stuff that keeps the ride stable and all that kind of stuff. Think of it along those lines for jet fighters,
If somebody had explained that during the movie, it would have just given it a little bit more credibility.
No, I think it was fine. It's like, these are 5th generation fighters. Oh, that sounds stuff.
I say I wasn't disappointed overall. Like I say, I was thoroughly invested. And I did like the way the story played out as well. That I don't really remember what happened to Goose. I take it he died in the first one.
Yeah, I remember he ejected and he hit the canopy. Which apparently was a thing that would happen. I mean, that was not a just totally made up thing. And he hit the canopy and broke his neck.
No, the problem was as well is I kept sort of kind of confusing it a little bit with Hot Shots.
Yeah.
There's the ground, looks hard. That's a good way to lose an eye, my friend. It's like when they were landing, it's kind of, guys, you want to get out of the way because we're coming into land here. Lost a wing. There's another one.
I remember, I don't know why, it just made me laugh more in Hot Shots, but it's like, I'm coming in. Like, you're looking fine. It's like, yep, I'm losing. I lost my landing gear. You're doing good there, Topper. Lost a wing. You're doing
There's
fine.
Another one.
Lost another one. Bring her on home. And then they cut, and all they do is just like, the plane just falls.
My favorite bit, I think it's either one or the other, but when the two guys are carrying the bombs around and they just sort of like, dunk, oh, sorry, bud. Stuff like that. And so, I did get it a little bit confused with that. But overall, like I say, Top Gun Maverick was great.
It was great. It respected the character. Yeah. It did not make him a god like a Mary Sue or Gary Stu or whatever you want to call it, but it made him, he is absolutely who you would expect him to be at that age.
Yeah.
And still makes some of the same problems. And
they handled Val Kilmer very well as well.
Oh man, I gotta admit that kind of choked me up a little bit.
I love it as well, where it is incredibly emotional because I mean Tom gives that fantastic speech beforehand, and then they kind of hug, but then he sort of says, "So which one of us is better?" And he's like, "Oh, let's not ruin it now," And
it's been a good moment.
Just took all that tension out, and it
was well done.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Clearly, two guys who like and admire, and it was sad to see Kilmer, because you remember him from being such a strong, handsome guy, and then for him to fall apart the way he did, it's sad. But then when you incorporate that into the story, it makes it. Because he should be an admiral
again,
by now.
It was,
he's just
but again, it was well done the way that they did it. That obviously he, Val's in the situation that he's in, but also it was the same reason that Tom got the job. Yeah. Teaching these guys because and whatnot, and so
because he keeps pulling shit like he did at the beginning, where he ends up blowing up a $50 billion fighter and ends up in a tiny little restaurant looking for a phone somewhere in West Virginia.
I really like the bit where he walks in there and he sort of says, "Where am I?" And the kid goes, "Earth." I really like that because it's kind of like you just walk in and you sort of go, actually, yeah, where is he from?
he's practically still smoldering. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I think they did a better job with the love interest. I like that they brought in Jennifer Connelly, who is more age appropriate and still looks smoking hot.
That woman is just, it's unbelievable.
She's the female Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah. They both must drink the bloods of virgins or something or other. Because, like I say...
I saw her, obviously I saw her in Labyrinth as a kid. And Q was a button then. And then when she was in Rocketeer, I think.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, man, she is gorgeous. And somehow she gets better with age, which
like
is
a fine wine. Like a fine wine.
Just smoking hot.
She is. Oh dear, goodness me! Like I say, very, very sort of early teenage crush.
Paul Bettany, you are one lucky asshole.
Yeah. Oh dear, man.
Must be the accent. You might have a chance.
Well, I do speak the Queen's English. Yes. I only do the accent to attract girls. It's so fun not working. I did watch B.J. Novak's new one, Vengeance.
I heard that talked about on Red Letter Media, and they gave it a mildly positive review.
The only thing, it is kind of interesting. I like B.J. Novak. I know he's written a lot of the American Office, and there are the episodes that he's done, I think are brilliant, and I've always liked him in it. I do feel his direction was not amazing. There was massive continuity errors in some places. There's a scene where he's talking to Ashton Kutcher, and Ashton Kutcher has got the sun come directly in his eyes at one point, but when it cuts back, you can see that it's not, and it's kind of annoyances like that. I think the problem that the movie suffered from was, I'm going to say, lack of budget. That if he had just a slightly larger budget on the production on this, it would have been absolutely belting. It was really well done, and it was very well written, and it's kind of a black comedy, not like a black comedy, but like a dark comedy type of thing. And it was very well done, but it just needed that little bit of extra cash. And I think it would have really polished it off very well.
I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to give it a shot. What they did say is that they appreciated that Novak was not trying to paint. He wasn't doing anything with a broad brush. Like, each of these people were actual characters and not just stereotypes, and doing a fish out of water story and things like that. And it wasn't really a comedy per se, although it had funny moments. But they commented that he seems to be a guy that is trying to say something, and trying to say something more intelligently than, your average, MCU movie or something. You know what I mean?
I think the film will suffer from that, because there's a lot of people that like you say, he is trying to say something, and it was quite, I don't want to say deep, but like you say, it's not a Marvel movie. So I imagine a lot of people are going to miss this, because there's no helicopters exploding.
Like, he wasn't like showing, oh yeah, Southern white people are all bigots and racists. That's what you can expect.
It's the only American accent I can do.
No,
I'm the New York accent, but
I'm not talking about your accent. I'm just saying that that's how typically they paint, when they do these kinds of movies, and that he was trying to say, no, they just because they have a Southern accent, they have things to say, they have intelligence, they come from a different world than we do. And so they have a different take on life because of their environment, their circumstances of life. Not saying one's, like they were born in a bad place or anything. It's just, this is where they live, and this is how their world is. And that doesn't make them any less smart or intelligent or thought provoking than some, highfalutin person in New York. What I'm saying?
It's kind of a shame that you do judge people sometimes on their accent. Over here in the UK, we've got some accents, and you just think that person sounds thick, and it's kind of, they're not thick. It's just the accent that they've got.
No, I know. I mean, if I hear a street accent, and I hear it out of white people, not just black people. But when I hear that accent or heavy Southern, sometimes it's like you sound like an idiot. But I mean, that's not fair because I'm sure that I know people with accents that yourself that are actually fairly intelligent. Not yourself.
In the UK, we always used to have Irish jokes. So like the Irish was the thick guy, and like Paddy and Murphy were always. My favourite joke about that is Paddy and Murphy are on a building site and Paddy pulls out a thermos flask. And Murphy goes, "What have you got there?" He says, "I got myself a thermos flask. This thing is great. It keeps hot things hot and cold things cold." He said, "You should get yourself one." So the next day, they're on the building site. Murphy pulls out proudly his thermos flask. He says, "Oh, great." He says, "You got yourself one there. What have you got in it?" He goes, "I got a cup of tea and 2 scoops of ice cream." I haven't had one of those jokes for ages. I don't have to do them anymore. But yeah, like I say, so Vengeance was quite good. I also watched 2, again, quite sort of modern stuff. The Immaculate Room with Emile Hirsch and Kate Bosworth, where they go into a large white room for 50 days. And if they stay there, they win $5 million. Very, very good until the 3rd act. And then it kind of just let itself down a little bit at the end. But there was kind of no... Well, my satisfying conclusion would have been they both murdered each other. Because that would have been the best way to end it for. But it kind of it didn't kind of pussy out, but it just sort of was disappointing at the end, sort of. I found, but it was an interesting concept, like the whole Big Brother.
What was it called again?
The Immaculate Room. What I did like about it is they're in there and they've got literally no outside contact. There's no pen, paper, or anything like this. So they are just in this room. They're only allowed into the bathroom one at a time. There's no windows.
Was there a toilet in there? Yeah. It didn't stay immaculate.
Dog wiping your ass across the floor and stuff. No. But it was
shit streaks everywhere. This was white. What happened?
Sorry about the smell as well. We've got used to it now. I suppose being in there for 50 days, you probably would start wiping all over the walls. Yeah. I did think to myself,
50 lie written in my own shit.
I did think that the 50 days was too long as a premise because I mean it's too long a period to be able to have no stimuli. But what was interesting is
have you been to have you seen the pandemic?
Yeah, but you've got like internet,
for you, buddy.
You got internet and TV and books and stuff, in there. But whilst they're in there,
it drove everybody insane.
The rules say that the food is very bland and stuff, but the rules say they can get 2 treats, but it will cost them $100,000. So they get 2 treats each. So he says after like sort of 15 days in there, he says, "I'm going to get a treat." So it's a crayon. And he ends up writing obviously all over the walls, as you would. Anyway, again, a few more days afterwards, he says, "I'm going to get my second treat." Or no, he says, "Well, you should get yours." And he goes, "I'm going to get my second treat." So he says, "Oh, he wants his second treat." And basically a naked woman walks in. and it was like, damn. But obviously that kind of throws a spanner in the works. And like I say, it was an interesting concept of a movie. The naked woman is not surprised because she is actually in the trailer. But it was an interesting concept, but it kind of just let down at the end. And like I say, I would have liked a more interesting ending, not a satisfying ending, because it kind of was sort of satisfying.
You want something bleak and horrible like those movies you watch with Sean. That's what you wanted.
Pretty much, to be fair, yeah. But it was an interesting concept. Now I also ended up watching a Norwegian horror movie called The Innocence, which was the story is basically some kids live in a tower block in Norway somewhere, and they find that they've got powers, and then the powers start getting out of hand. This was really good. It was really creepy, and one of the kids starts just going pretty balls out evil, and he must only be about 12. And if you think of a kid who's got kind of these powers, spoiler it a little bit, he's got these powers. His mum keeps telling him off and everything else, so he ends up with his mind powers throwing a frying pan and her head knocks her out, and he kind of leaves her there because he doesn't know what to do. But then he decides he's going to pour the boiling water over her body. And it was kind of like, when you watched it, it was quite. There was a couple of moments in the movie where I was really sort of like taken aback, and even I was taken back at sort of how graphic it was. But it was a really well done film.
Sounds like it. Sounds like fun for the whole family.
It's definitely not one for the whole.
I don't know if you watched it yet. I talked with Sean, but I saw Network recently.
No, it's on my list. I after watching you guys talking about it, yes, it's on my list of things to watch.
It is. I won't go. If you watch the video Sean and I did on it, I think you'll find it fascinating. Because on
the lastmovieoutpost.com channel, video channel, subscribe here.
Shill. The movie just struck me about how not only timeless it is, but it's more relevant now than it was then, and it was relevant then. But it is 1,000 times more relevant now, sadly. And it I was kind of shocked as I was watching it, going, "Oh my God, this was not supposed to be a blueprint, you idiots!" You know.
I always think that about Idiocracy. It's not a documentary.
I did rewatch because my wife, she's a big Olivia Newton-John fan.
Okay.
So we rewatched Grease.
Okay.
And I got to admit,
I thought you were going to say Xanadu.
Actually, I downloaded that for her too, but I haven't watched it.
Oh no! Do you know what? I watched that last year, and I remember as a kid, I think my dad had it on 8mm, and we watched in the cinema, in our little homemade cinema, and I remember loving it. But watching it again now, it was kind of, I don't remember why.
I haven't watched it probably since I was a kid, or maybe like one of those Saturday afternoon on UHF, movies. So I can't remember a thing about it other than she might have some powers or something. I don't know. And it's a lot of roller skating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but she wanted to watch it. It does have a great song in it. I'll give him that. But
I was going to say, to be fair, that's all I can remember about it.
Yeah.
And I only watched it last year.
It's on my list because she wants to watch it. So, okay, fine. I did download, and I'm going to start watching it here, The Hobbit, the Tolkien edit. Now, the Hobbit movies, I have maintained that there is a good Hobbit movie in there.
Right.
But it's 3 movies of too much nonsense and shit. But if you could trim out all that stuff, you could edit it. Well, somebody apparently took it upon themselves to do that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they
sounds
call it
interesting.
I did some research and I said, I wonder, somebody always does these fan edits. I said, I wonder if somebody did. Well, sure enough, somebody did. It's 2.5 hours long. Which, if you know The Hobbit, I think with the extended cuts, it's like 9 hours of freaking film, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And he got it all down at 2.5 hours. And if it's down to 2.5 hours and it does, the 3 movies and tells the entire story of The Hobbit as close to the book as possible, I'm very curious on how well he did, because I think Martin Freeman does a reasonable job. The actors, of course, the special effects are good and everything. It's just, we got to get rid of some of the stuff. We don't need that insane barrel ride down the river. That was the dumbest thing I ever saw. Any of these movies.
There's such a shame, because I remember
but the
reading
Amazon Prime series is coming, so it has a chance to
to
get up to that bar.
Let's get our notebooks out. It's a shame because
hold my beer. I can fuck it up worse than that.
I had read somewhere that apparently that was directed by Andy Serkis. That particular sequence, and again, he's one of those people that I feel so sorry for with his direction. He did one with Andrew Garfield called Breathable, I think it was, or something, which was based on a true story about a guy who ended up in an iron lung, which was quite good. But I mean, the other 2 movies that he's directed, he did Mowgli, which unfortunately came out after Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, but the same story, and it was kind of no offense, I wouldn't want to follow Jon Favreau into the bathroom, let alone, a movie of the same thing released at the same time. And then he also did, not Morbius, what's it called? The sequel to, Venom 2.
Oh.
And again, I know. And you're thinking, oh man, he's a talented director and he should be getting better. Maybe he's got the same agent as Matt Smith. I don't know.
That would explain some things.
It would.
By the way, I did rewatch Iron Man 2.
Okay.
And I feel like that movie is a little unfairly maligned. And maybe
I agree.
And maybe that's because, like they say, oh, it just was a bunch of setup for the Avengers. Like, as compared to the shit they put out now,
Yeah.
with 8 million post-credit scenes and you have to have watched WandaVision before you can actually see Doctor Strange.
In WandaVision, episode 7, in the 14th scene, you can see a cup that somebody's holding, and that's the same cup that gives the powers to Tony in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, they have like a little nod with his shield, with that weird pseudo Captain America shield that he used to prop up the thing as a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bring in Black Widow. And they mention the Avengers. They bring in War Machine. I mean, nothing. It's not that. I don't see what's that bad. And it's like
a good guy, bad guy as well. Because what's his name? Mickey Rooney is the Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney. Yes.
I was just thinking, that's completely wrong, isn't it?
I just got that.
Jellickers. I'm gonna get you, Iron Man.
Jiminy Jellicker. I just saw that old fuck's head in that big giant armor.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, palladium in the chest, terrible way to die.
Mickey Rourke then.
Mickey Rourke.
But there were so many possibilities. Apparently, there's a petition going around that's saying that Wolverine should now be played by Danny DeVito and stuff.
Well, as serious as they're getting, yeah. But I mean, I look at that movie. It's like, okay, so you've got Tony Stark. He's having to deal with his impending death. He's got the pressure of trying to keep. He's been cleaning up the world. He's been taking care of all these. Because remember, in 2008, when it came out, we are still hip deep in the war on terror, right? I mean, 9/11 is still fresh in a lot of people's minds. And, we're kind of coming to the tail end of it, but still, there's a lot of that going on. And so Iron Man appearing at that point in time, that's kind of where our universes diverge, in my opinion. Yeah, I know retconning and all that, fine, but at that time, all we knew is that, this is our world, and now we have Iron Man, and so that's where the MCU starts. Otherwise, everything up until then has happened just the way it happened before.
Yeah.
And so now we got a guy in an iron suit who can actually do something about it on his own. He can get in and out. He has very little radar profile. He's got this. He craps out technology the way I crap out burritos. I mean, he's just insane. And now, but the thing is, the thing that's keeping him alive is killing him.
Yeah.
And he can't take it out because it keeps the shrapnel away from his heart. And he can't keep it in because the palladium is killing him, right? And then they kind of introduce a little bit of, his relationship with his dad and him being unable to talk to Pepper, talk to people, and he's being self-destructive. And you can understand why he's being self-destructive to a certain extent. And I don't know. I find the movie more compelling than I think people give it credit for. It's as good as the first one.
It's not as good as Black Widow.
Sure.
It's when you say that and you go, did Black Widow have a movie? Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah, she did. Now, it doesn't have as compelling as a villain. Mickey Rourke is okay, but I think in Mickey Rooney's okay. But in the first Iron Man, you have Obadiah Stane, and he has clearly a close relationship with Stark, and the two are on screen together a lot. And it means more when he finally kind of comes clean, and you find out what's going on, and he's working against him and all that kind of stuff. That tension is constantly building. Whereas in Iron Man 2, Rourke just appears out of nowhere, as far as Stark is concerned, on the Monica track. And then they put him in jail. So as far as he's concerned, he's gone or dead. He may have died. As far as he knows, maybe he died in the prison breakout. He doesn't know. And then Hammer, look, I love me some Sam Rockwell. Okay, he's fantastic. But he is a complete joke in this movie. He is not. He is never credible as a villain. Nobody takes him seriously, and he shouldn't be. And so the real story is Tony at war with himself, but the stuff that's happening alongside that is never. He needs that secondary pressure, The war on terror, he's already mopped that up, so he doesn't have to worry about that as much. Government's giving him a little shit, but he takes care of that at the very beginning, which, by the way, I just absolutely adore that scene with him telling the government to kiss his ass.
That's the one with Gary
Shandling.
Well, I love the line where he sort of says, "Oh, I caught you there. Isn't it amazing how one little prick can hurt so much?"
Yeah. I like him at the beginning. He's like, I cannot give away the Iron Man suit. That would be about me going into slavery or prostitution. Everybody laughs. He goes, look, I'm not an expert. He goes, on prostitution? No, you're a senator. Of course not. I just love the big middle finger to the establishment. I love all that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the scene where he puts on the briefcase armor.
Yes.
It's too short, but it's freaking awesome.
Is it not Endgame? It's the one before Infinity Wars where he's got the whole nanobot suit.
Yeah.
It's not as good. That whole sequence where the whole bit in the first Iron Man when it all goes on and everything else, it's just it's so beautiful. It's so nice.
I don't like the nanobot armor aesthetically, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I do like it thematically because the idea is the through line through the MCU is that Tony knows, especially after Avengers, that something is coming. And even more so after Age of Ultron when Scarlet Witch kind of messed with his mind. That's why he creates Ultron, all this stuff. He knows something bad is coming. And he even says so in Endgame, when he loses his, and tells Cap, you're a liar and all this stuff. Because he knew this was coming. And so he is constantly taking his armor to the next level because he knows he needs to fight something that he doesn't believe he can fight. And in truth, it's still not enough. Thanos defeats him, right? He gets stabbed right through the, all his technology, everything, this pinnacle of technology, which thematically we see makes his original Iron Man suit look like a Model T.
Oh, yeah. Because that original suit again was kind of brilliant the way it was done.
It was great. Because
I'd heard of Iron Man, but I never really knew much about him, and I kept thinking, well, that obviously can't be Iron Man because that's awful. But obviously that he managed to build that in a cave. But obviously when he gets back home to his when he gets back home,
I'm even talking about the red and gold one, the Mark III, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Even that one looks like a Model T compared to the nanobot one, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's still not enough. And that's what I think is the brilliance of Infinity War. It's like everything they did, they got defeated. It wasn't enough. They didn't work together. They let things get, they let the government, they let bureaucracy, they let things get, break them up. That's one of the interesting things about Captain America Civil War is that the antagonist in that one, not necessarily the villain, but the antagonist in Civil War is Tony Stark, not Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know who the hell he is.
No,
they don't meet him until the very end. They have no idea. They know something is working against them, but they don't know. They have no emotional attachment to it. But it's Stark submitting to authority because of what happened and screwing things up with the Avengers. That led them to their defeat in Infinity War. And so, I appreciate thematically the armor. I don't like I wish they would have done something a little differently, but that's neither here nor there.
It's kind of one of those things that I think somebody said recently, what happened with the good old fashioned putting the suit on? Everything kind of seems to just come out of nowhere now in this whole scene. Moon Knight was the same. Well, no, Moon Knight, it was just the same. It just sort of seemed to just sort of come out of nowhere, and it was always just kind of
that was magic. So I kind of give that one a pass. But I think technology,
just in general,
like the time travel suits, you just have a time travel suit. Now you have your regular suit. Now you have nothing. I don't know. They just got lazy.
What did you expect? Yellow spandex?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing that I think I loved about the original Iron Man was all the attention to details and building the suit and all the little pieces and parts that went into it.
Literally the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And that. Yeah.
And now it's just like magic suit, here you go. And we'll give one to Spider-Man while we're at it.
I think, like I say, I think the second one is underrated.
I do too. I think
I think it suffered. This is just my thought process, because there's two lines of thought. I think it suffered because the first Iron Man was just brilliant, and it kind of came out of nowhere, and everybody it was just brilliant, and so the second one had to live up to the first one, and the second one is good, but it kind of didn't exceed the second one, and so people just thought, well, it's not as good as the first, it should be better than the first one, and it wasn't, because it was difficult to prove. And I think the same thing happened with Ultron, to be perfectly honest. The first Avengers movie was fantastic,
and I think Ultron is underrated too.
Ultron is really good, but it's not better than the first one, and I think people went in there thinking, oh, this is going to be better than the first one.
I'm not so certain about that now.
Oh, all right.
Honestly,
it was as good.
I mean, the Avengers is good. Don't get me wrong, but it feels almost simplistic because, and part of this is because we have the whole saga done. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like
with Endgame.
Age of Ultron really adds a lot of nice texture to the MCU.
Yeah.
Has characters in the right places, and it also lays the groundwork for Civil War and Infinity War because of,
like you said, with the hammer and that kind of thing. Yeah,
and the hammer,
and that kind of stuff.
So I mean, there's a lot that happens in there. Whereas the first Avengers, just they're trying to figure things out. I don't want to take away from the first Avengers. It's a very fun movie, but there's something tonally or something that is not quite what they figured out in phase 2, which I don't think they figured out until Winter Soldier, when the Russos came. I think that's when they solidified the proper tone of the proper atmosphere and story points and things like that. That's when they really got it figured out. Up until then, it was good, but I mean, Thor wasn't, blowing down the doors. Thor: Dark World didn't blow down the doors. Iron Man 3 is interesting, but it's not.
I like it.
I like it a lot, but it doesn't feel like the rest of the MCU. It's got a weird. It's a Shane Black movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. So I mean, phase 1 and the first few movies of phase 2 are really still trying to find their voice. They're trying to figure out, what is this all going to?
For me, though, I think the end of phase 1 with Avengers, the first Avengers movie, it's just the way that they brought these characters together so well. You did have the movies that set them all up and everything else, and they were kind of on their own, and there were hints towards it and stuff. And then when they did it, it was kind of just like, this is great. This is, you remember
everybody saying this is going to be Tony Stark in the Avengers, guest starring the Avengers. Oh yeah, and it didn't turn out that way. No. And it could have been a huge mess. I mean, because we're not that far, we're talking only 5 years from X-Men Last Stand, which was completely overstuffed. And Spider-Man 3.
Absolutely terrible.
Which
again,
overstuffed. And they couldn't get it right.
Yeah, people have sort of tried to defend Spider-Man 3 to me, and it's just, I watched it, it's just bad.
Yeah.
And like you say, it was overstuffed, and it was, again, such a shame, because the second one hit the nail so unbelievably well. It was for a while, the best sort of superhero movie that had ever been done. And then the third one was just, it was, like you say, it was an overstuffed mess. It just didn't work at all on any levels, I don't think. And it was such a shame.
See, they were struggling to figure out who Thor was, who Hawkeye was, who Black Widow was, who Captain America. Yeah, they got Captain America from the very beginning. But
I was going to say, thank goodness though that Taika Waititi has now found out who Thor is.
Yeah,
the colorful
dude, bro, thrower.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying that they Jon Favreau really nailed, and so did Robert Downey Jr. for that matter, really nailed Stark. And I think the reason why I like Iron Man 2 so much is that it really kind of adds a lot to that character.
Yeah.
Gives, and sends him down this road of the guy who, stuck it to authority, stuck his middle finger up to authority. And then you brought in Captain America, who was a little, in my mind, a little too abrasive or aggressive towards Tony in Avengers sometimes. But he was for authority. He was a soldier. He took orders. He did his work, and that they both crossed over the course of
which they were going to.
Which but I mean, I
mean, I did think it was a little cliche when they sort of kind of first get them in the room together.
Yeah, that's
how everybody's kind of arguing, and I was thinking, well, this is a little cliche because they're all going to be friends by the end. But again, it was done in a natural, great way because all the characters were acting as they would. Even the Hulk was kind of, I was perfectly happy where I was, but you brought me up here, and it was naturally done, and you can see the fact that when there is then suddenly a common enemy, they've got to group together, they've got to get on, and they've got to. They got a lot of great moments. Just there's something. I mean, part of it is Captain America's suit is so horrifyingly bad, but it's there's a lot of, I don't know. It's just tonally or something. I can't put my finger on it. Just something doesn't quite mesh as well. They didn't quite figure out the way it should be until Winter Soldier. That's when the Russos kind of became the guiding voice. Feige became the guiding voice. And it all kind of stemmed from there. And that's when they really figured it out, in my opinion. It's weird because I saw a video recently. I think it was Star Wars Girl. And she was saying about how in that first Avengers, you've got the moment where Tony and Thor and Captain America meet up for the first time. And you've got basically a god, this man who is into technology and is quite flippant and everything else, and then you've got this soldier with all these morals and everything else meeting for the first time, and then it all culminated in Endgame, which was great. But she said that Phase 4 just seems to be the deconstruction of all these characters and just completely emasculating each and every one of them, including now Hulk, because I think she was talking about She-Hulk. But again, you're looking at it and it is kind of going, you created all these great male characters, and they're male. It's just the way they were written. They were male. There was literally sort of 50-50 of who they were going to be.
Weirdly, the only people buying comics back in those days were fifth grade boys. What do you want?
Yeah. Would you think actually sort of female characters like She-Hulk, if she was in sexy outfits, would have actually sold more?
That was when they were eighth grade boys.
But you had all this in there, like I say. But it seems like the Phase 4 at the moment, it's just been about emasculating them all. And just sort of taking all these powers away from them, and how great they are, how these heroes that literally save the galaxy, but kind of no, we've got to this it's a bit too good what the men done there.
They managed to stick the ending, but boy, you could see the cracks starting with Captain Marvel, and then the female moment in Endgame, and just these moments kind of started slipping through, but. Fortunately, Robert Downey got out when the good was good. Chris Evans got out at a high point. Hawkeye, I don't think they've ruined him. Although there's people say, how do you ruin Hawkeye? It's like ruining shit. What are you going to do?
No. Give us 5 minutes. We'll think of something.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish that series. I had no interest in it at all in it with the character that was going on, the girl in it, and even with Hawkeye, nothing at all.
I kind of dug it. Okay, it wasn't great, but I mean, my big thing is, am I gonna go and rewatch it? Well, I'd rather we watch Iron Man 2, and everybody says that's the suck movie. So you tell me which is bad.
Yeah,
I couldn't finish. I didn't even bother to finish Miss Marvel.
I don't think I finished. What's it called?
Moon Knight.
No, Miss Marvel. Moon Knight. I didn't finish. I did start it. Miss Marvel. I didn't even start.
You didn't even start. I watched like 2 episodes. I was like,
again, it's so weird how we live in this sort of TikTok generation where, literally 20-second videos you've got to get people's attention. And yet, there was a kids movie I watched the other day. Let me just see if I can find it. It was an animation that was on, and I stuck it on because there was just sort of nothing else there. Not Lightyear, but I mean Lightyear was 100 minutes long, and you're thinking, what kid is going to go and see that and get into it that much for that long? It's far too long for kids' attentions, I think. Go back to the 90-minute movies. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I watched what did I watch recently? I watched that old, well, not that old, but Tony Scott movie, and it's called Unstoppable with Denzel Washington.
Yeah, on the train. Yeah.
It's like an hour and 40 minutes in and out. Damn enjoyable little tense little disaster movie. Gotta go get the train that this moron let go.
Ethan Slopey did it, I think. As I remember. Randomly, I remember that.
It's got problems, but I mean, I'm like, that was a fun little, just quick.
But then when you think of what's it called? You think of Stranger Things and the end of season 4, part 1. The last episode was
longer than that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually think season 4 was the strongest season they've had. Season 1.
It was a good season, but I mean, I remember it came out, and I think we were talking about it on the Sunday, and so I kind of binge watched it, and it kind of not ruined it for me, but I was kind of like, oh God, come on, this episode's been on for like 10 hours, and you just wanted it to go that little bit quicker. To make it more enjoyable. And funny enough, me and Aggie were talking about that the other day, or Matt was, and we were talking about Sandman and how I just couldn't finish it. It was too long. It dragged out. I got to about the 5th or 6th episode, and I thought, this is just, a couple of the episodes were just filler. And again, I'm thinking, I can't be bothered to get to the end of this. And it's just kind of weird how they don't think this would make a good 2-hour movie, which people could sit through. It's got to be 8 hours, which is really long and drawn out and padded and, full of filler and a load of stuff. You say about that Hobbit, exactly the same thing is, I mean, I watched the Obi-Wan edit, the fan edit of that, which was 2.5 hours and so much better than the 8-hour-long episode. Did you see it?
I did. I watched it. You'd put it up there and I gave it a shot. I was like, that made it reasonably okay.
Yeah. And again,
I mean, there's some things you couldn't fix, but there was.
Yeah. But I mean, what the guy did was just condense it down into a really gripping story, which was like just so much better. And it's unusual how they kind of think, that, I mean, all the sort of Star Wars movies are on hold at the moment after, Solo.
Oh, thank God.
But again, you'd think to yourself that they want to get bums on seats. Maverick has made well over $1 billion now in the box office, and so there is the opportunity there. But again,
it was just barely 2 hours. I don't think it was much longer. But I mean, they told a story. Say it was maybe a little bit over, but maybe, but again, and they told a story. It was like men doing manly things.
It was only a couple of females, and
they didn't treat them any differently.
No. Yeah.
I should say talented people doing talented things.
Yeah.
And doing their best and not caring about the message. And wow, look at how much money it made. I think Maverick is I think between Maverick and this election, there's like 3 things that are going to happen. And Maverick is one of them. As far as that switch turning, where people just finally say enough of all this nonsense. Zaslav is coming in. We'll see what he creates. Maverick makes $1 billion. I think it's close to $2 billion now. I mean, it just killed. It's
a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah.
And then you've got, Trump getting raided. I think that was a red pill for a lot of people. Because I'm reading people who hate Trump going, wait a minute. What we did? What are you nuts? And then and if this election is as bad as they think it's going to be for the establishment, because there were a ton of Republicans who got removed that voted for impeachment, and like I want to say establishment crony politicians.
Right.
Not.
Right.
I'm trying not to talk in parties here. I don't give a fuck about parties. You're either the ones in power who try to gain value from the system, or your people are like, hey, I just want to be left alone, and I want to make sure others get left alone. So we may look back on 2022 at these things, and I think Maverick is one of those things, because I think Hollywood is still looking at this going, made what?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's like, because it has no mess. It's not anti-message. It just has one message. Maverick needs to go do this thing well.
It was I was going to say, it was kind of going back to that old school process of main protagonist has to do something. Yeah. Gosh, I vaguely remember that.
We're telling an actual story that has to do with the characters and their internal struggles, not your internal struggle, Mr. Twitterati. We don't care about you. We care about this character. And they did that well. And God bless you, Tom Cruise. You can jump on Oprah's couch.
I think we said it the other day. He is just a last action hero. I mean, the man is just interested in making great action movies, and he's doing it really, really well. I still rate the Mission Impossible series.
Second one I have problems with, but the rest of them are awesome.
Yeah, obviously. But I mean, again, it's a series which the new ones, I'm going, oh yeah, fancy that.
Give J.J. Abrams credit for reinvigorating that franchise.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the way it goes, isn't it, with franchises? If one does well, I'm sure they said the other day that they're in talks now about Maverick 3 or Top Gun 3. Obviously, I think I just quickly looked it up. 1.4 billion is made worldwide, according to the IMDb at the moment.
Hope they don't wait as long. I want to see Maverick with wings and a jet on a wheelchair. Let's go!
I remember when I used to fly a plane. Yes, Grandpa. Yes.
He's gonna be in he's gonna be in one of those rascal carts with a guy behind him. In Walmart, eject! They eject out of it in a rascal cart and get killed in the ceiling. That'd be awesome.
Yes, I know you used to fly a plane. You've mentioned it before, and stuff. Oh, it's a shame.
And Jennifer Connelly is there. She's like 80, and she still looks as hot as ever.
Yeah, and you're still thinking, no, I'd have a go. Yeah, I'd still have a crack at that. Yeah.
Silver Fox.
Couple of others just to mention quick movies.
Before you do, I just want to take our one comment here. Kurt says they might take yeah, I'm sure he is, but I still want to reference it.
2 watching, 3 watching. Hello, 3 people.
4. They may take the new Avengers film more seriously when that is released in 5 years.
Again,
I mean, if there is 5 years is a long time. So could they have a major change in leadership? Could they shake things up? Could they go, as these things I'm talking about now by 2026, 2027, could things change in Disney? Yeah, anything's possible, I suppose. I never thought I'd see what's happening at Warner Brothers happen, but there you go. I mean, we may get I was going
to say, you've got massive shoes to fill in Kevin Feige. I mean, whatever.
How many times do we have to have? Listen, Mr. King's English. This is not hard.
Kev, as I know him. But
I mean,
you've got massive shoes to fill, because I mean, that guy created genius, which I just don't think is going to be replicated for the next 50 odd years. In what he did with Iron Man to Endgame.
Well, I mean, I think somebody could do it if they got the right vision and if they're left the hell alone.
What I mean is like we said earlier with the Samaritan, that the whole superhero thing is kind of getting tired now. That everybody wants another Superman, and like I say, if like they try to do it with the DCU and everything else, the best thing they should do with the DCU is just put it on hold for 10 years. And then reboot it.
I would like to see it rebooted, and I would like to see them just like, you know what? Just go back to basic. Just go back to, tights, and I mean, like Christopher Reeve, but not like tone down some of the campiness, But just tell the basics. Don't put them in these weird suits. Don't do all this weird political nonsense. Don't try to make it for today's audiences. Do a classic stories with.
Sorry, we just had another. Sorry, I am listening, but we just had another saying hello back. We've now got six people watching. We've been on for an hour and 3/4, and now you people join.
Okay, all right.
Where were you 2 hours ago?
No, I want you to start over from the very beginning. Let's talk about She-Hulk.
Hello, and welcome to Outpost Frequencies.
Start all over for the people that weren't here. Okay, this is going to take a while.
Hello, everybody who is watching. Thank you for eventually joining us.
This is going to be
able to catch this stream.
Very long stream. Now we have to do this all again.
You will be able to catch the stream later once it goes live and stuff. But we've had an interesting chat about some movies, some new, some old. It's been quite good, and not that we finished, because I do want to mention another couple of 80s that I saw. I did do a review on the lastmovieoutpost.com of Zone Troopers, which was one of those movies where it was kind of like Ed Wood, that they put a lot of passion into it, but nobody was kind of really taking it that seriously, and it just turned out to be quite a good movie in a bad way. I quite enjoyed it. And then the other one I watched, this was because of you and bloody Sean mentioning it, Caddyshack II, which I'd never seen before. And all I can say is Jackie Mason is no Rodney Dangerfield.
No. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's like arsenic in the squirrels that he eats, but it's how he can think that Caddyshack 2 is better than Caddyshack is beyond me. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just. There are
some good lines in it. Like he said, I like the fact when he said, "Oh, my mother was half Irish, half Jewish, and half thingy." That's a lot of halves. She was a big woman.
Yeah.
There are some good lines in it. But
there are occasional good lines, but for the most part, that movie is ass. And it's like, I understand that movies are subjective, but in this case, Sean, you are wrong. Sorry, you're just wrong.
I've got to go with that as well. Like I say, yeah, the second one was entertainment, but if it's kind of gunpoint, which one are you going to watch? You're going to watch Caddyshack again.
Oh yeah,
obviously,
bona fide class.
Another one of the 80s that I watched, which I think I have seen, but not for a long time, was Arena, where the guy ends up fighting aliens in like the arena, and again, it was. I
liked it better
terrible.
when it was called Predator.
No, this was nowhere near the level of Predator. It was, what I liked about it is how every now and then you had complete and utter plot exposition. Like, for example, these two fighters would fight, and then there's like this robot voice that goes, there is a waitlist system, so that there's a handicap system and everything else. So it explains how this puny little human can fight this massive 20 tentacled creature, and because you're thinking, yeah, he's gonna get slaughtered, but no, there's a handicap system, and it's like, right. And then later on, it's kind of, oh well, you owe us money because of so and so and so and so. Everybody got that at home, right? Like the way they were sort of doing the plot. It was quite entertaining.
He's this regular guy, and he has to fight this giant tentacled, monster that weighs 4,000 pounds. He's not gonna have a chance. Oh, we have a handicap system. What has he got? Well, he's got a gun. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
It might
as well have. Oh, go on.
I wanted to bring up this this list that Mr. Stark published, the top 25 films of the 1940s.
That came in from a reader, didn't it?
Did it? Yes, it was Bourgeois Scum. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay. I read through this list. One, there's several, many, at least half that I have never seen, and I want to give them a try. Or I saw the remakes. Like I saw the remake of Catwoman or Cat People, which I hear is terrible.
Oh, the original is fantastic. I watched it last year. It's brilliant.
Of course, Pinocchio is very good. Never saw Lost Weekend or White Heat. I think I saw the Grapes of Wrath as part of a school assignment, and I don't.
It's
like
one of those things,
school,
isn't it? It's like Shakespeare over here. Yeah, you get to study Shakespeare because Grapes of Wrath is one of those things.
Fantasia, I do like for what it is. His Girl Friday, it's one of those that should be like on my list, and I've never seen it. Never heard of the Magnificent Ambersons. Orson Welles. Suspicion, don't know about that one. Maltese Falcon, pretty good, but I don't think it's as good. I thought it would be better.
I haven't seen it in a long time, and I remember watching it many years ago and just not really rating it, so I've never gone back to it.
I liked it, but I didn't, I had higher expectations because of such a classic that is, and I was kind of like, that was okay. The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, I've never heard of that, but just based on the title alone, I must see it. The Bank Dick, and it seems the picture he shows looks like a guy actually trying to fuck a bank. It's weird. W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields, yeah.
The Black Narcissus, which
They've just remade that on the BBC over here.
I've heard of it, never seen it. Double Indemnity. I know the thing, I'll kill your husband, you kill my wife. But
no, that's Strangers on a Train, isn't it?
Well, maybe I'm maybe. Yeah.
I'll
Barbara
take out life
Stanwyck
insurance
and her smokiest woos Fred McMurray's insurance agent to help her take out insurance on her husband, but to help her kill him. Okay, so I'm thinking Stranger on a Train. No, this is different one. Treasure Sierra Madre, very, very good. I think my only gripe with Treasure of Sierra Madre, which is not its fault, is that I've seen it redone so many times without actually having seen the original, where, they find the gold and then they all go crazy and suspicious with each other.
Okay. I've honestly never heard of it.
I'm sure you've seen
a spin-off of it.
Variations on this theme where, people go to find the treasure, then they find the treasure, then they're all looking at each other. Hell, they did it. Star Trek.
Oh, like It's a Mad World.
Even more so than that, because they never found the treasure. It took them forever to get to it. But like in Star Trek, they went and find the sword of Kahless, and then when they found it, they all got suspicious to each other. You're going to take the sword for yourself, it was all that kind of stuff. Number 5, he put It's a Wonderful Life, which I would have rated higher than some of these others.
Yeah, I still cannot watch It's a Wonderful Life without crying at the end because it's so fantastic. Beautiful. Yeah,
Casablanca, I probably would have put it number 1. I absolutely love Casablanca.
I don't rate Casablanca.
I do admit that the flashback could be a little shorter in the middle, but other than that, I just think it's almost a perfect movie, and I love. I to this day I still laugh. Genuinely laugh when he closes down the casino, when he closes down Rick's place because the Germans tell him to do it. He's like, "Why are you closing me down?" He's like, "I'm shocked to find that there's gambling in this establishment." And right on cue, one of his guys comes up and goes, "Here's your winnings, sir." He goes, "Thank you."
I need to see it again because, like I say, I saw it many years ago and I just don't remember rating it. And maybe I just wasn't in the mood or whatever, but I need to give it another go, Casablanca.
Then he has The Third Man, The Red Shoes.
That is good.
And Citizen Kane, which I still find Citizen Kane to be. I feel like you put it at the top because you're supposed to, not because it's necessarily the best movie.
Again, I've seen it and I just don't recall massively rating it.
It's very, very good, but
for the time it was made, it's an incredible piece of movie making. But it's something I've never kind of returned to because I've just never felt the need to. What's weird is that Third Man.
That's 1939.
I didn't realize that Carol Reed was a man. I always remember thinking that's quite impressive for a woman back then to direct a movie as good as Third Man, and then it kind of had a picture of Carol Reed, and I'm going, "Who the hell's that?"
I was irritated that he left. Carol? I was irritated that he left. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington off the list. And then I looked it up. It's like, oh, that's 1939.
Okay, yeah.
39, what a hell of a year. That's a year I should revisit one day. There's a ton of great but yeah, I just some of these I need to watch, and some of them the speech in
what's his name, The Great Dictator, where he gives a speech about equality and how people should be treated and everything else, is unbelievable for the fact that it was written in 1940, and yet now it's so unbelievably relevant to our time that we're living in. It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's sad that we've gotten dumber.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any other
Idiocracy.
way to. Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm like, we seem to be smarter back then. I know you put it in your Orville review. I put it in my talk with Star Trek, the Nichelle, or not the Orville, but the Nichelle Nichols retrospective we did right here on the Last Movie Outpost. Subscribe, share, leave us a comment. Where she said we've learned not to fear words. I mean, it's like, it's funny how that is starting to kind of become a meme or get into the consciousness. People are starting to see this and go, wait a minute, why were we smarter back in 68?
Yeah. I mean, if people got that far, because I'm sure that when Abraham Lincoln in the episode of Star Wars that we're talking about, you refer to her as a negress. Was that the expression? Negress. But I mean, I'm imagining that some people that just immediately triggered them, and then they completely missed what Uhura said in response to that. And whereas, like, say, any intelligent person would, but any intelligent person would look at it and sort of say, yeah, that is a point. It's just a word. Why should she be offended by it? There's a comedian over here called Dave Gorman, and I remember him saying that he was driving one day and he accidentally cut somebody up, and this guy sort of pulled alongside him, and he sort of he shouted at him, "Your mother's a whore," and Dave went, "No, she's not. She's a baker." And it's kind of, he didn't take offense at it because it was kind of, but that's not true. So. No, because it is just words. If that guy wants to think that his mother's a whore, let him. It's just like one blow. What does it matter? And like I say, I always kind of remember that. And like you say, it was interesting how that whole chat, that whole thing was, like I say, that she didn't take offense at it because they had progressed to a point where they understood they didn't need to take offense at it.
So I'm going to wrap this up with a joke. Since you got to tell a joke, I get to tell a joke. First text message. Hi, Morris. This is Saul next door. I've been riddled with guilt for a few months. I've been trying to get up the courage to tell you face to face. When you're not around, I've been sharing your wife day and night, probably more than you. I haven't been getting it at home recently. I know that's no excuse. The temptation was too great. I can't live with the guilt, and I hope you'll accept my sincere apology and forgive me. Please suggest a fee for usage, and I'll pay you. Saul. Morris, feeling enraged and betrayed, grabbed his gun, went next door, and shot Saul dead. He returned home, shot his wife, poured himself a stiff drink, sat down on the sofa. He then looked at his phone and discovered a second text message from Saul minutes after the first one. Hi, Morris. Saul here again. Sorry about the typo on my last text. I assume you figured it out and noticed the darn spell check had changed Wi-Fi to wife. Technology, hey? It'll be the death of us.
That is good. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, sorry, I've just reported it as well. We had a bot selling sex. I'll click the link later.
I want some sex.
What, like together? That's a great line of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns goes up and he goes, Simpson, I want to be loved. Okay, I'm going to need some beer. Anyway, yes, let's wrap this up. Take it away.
Yes, thank you for watching. This has been another presentation of LastMovieOutpost.com, your home for movie news, streaming news, and all things cool about film. I have been Drunken Yoda. He is at Boba Phil. We are both on Twitter. I am at Drunken Yoda 1 on Twitter. And you can reach us at contact us at lastmovieoutpost.com if you want to send us some information, a story, some interesting ideas, or if you have your own movie list you want to put out there for us to complain and bitch about, we'll be happy to do it. You can reach us.
If you find a list that we actually like, you win a prize.
That's right. You go to lastmovieoutpost.com. You'll find all our social pages as well there. We have Instagram, Facebook. I think we're going to get ready to ramp up our Instagram a bit, aren't we? Do
yes.
Stuff.
Yes.
We're going to try. And then, of course, every day we have brand new stories detailing the latest and what's going on in the Most of it bad, of course, but we will do our best to try to find the good stuff. So thank you very much for watching.
How can a remake of Fletch be a bad thing? Anyway,
it's one of those questions that kind of answers itself, doesn't it?
If you check the website, you'll see what we mean. But yeah.
So, Phil, got anything final you want to wrap up with?
We're trying some new bits and pieces out, like doing quick reviews. If you check the channel, I've just done a quick review of Nope, which does have spoilers, but that's kind of seems to be a nice way of getting movies across. And this week I have been editing together our controversial movie list, and me and Sean this week are going to be doing the most controversial movie ever made. Yep, we're doing a Serbian film.
I thought you were gonna say Captain Marvel, but okay.
Hey, look, we're sick, but we're not
not that
twisted.
Crazy.
Yeah, God,
Jesus, will you get sued? So, I think that will do it for today. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the next stream. Package stream starting. New base.